Ali, Ahmad, Imam. How are you?
I'll tell you what, that introduction got me excited. That was like a trailer for a movie almost.
Well, you know me, mate. Before I put the countdown on, I'm in the living room listening to the Rocky soundtrack.
I love it.
I
We've
get
got we've
pumped
got all of
up.
us saying, "Let's go." Yeah, let's do it.
Dudes, jump in the comments. We've got LinkedIn royalty in the house tonight. Let us know where you're tuning in from. I'd love to know which city you. So we've got Oliver's in. He's he's in Vienna. There you go.
Wow,
You're on an aeroplane, are you?
tuning in
That's
from
rare.
plane.
That's rare these days.
Wow, that is rare.
He's got the aeroplane emoji there. There he is, Luigi.
Luigi, Hawaii, mate.
Love to have you here, mate. Great to have you here, mate. Legend. Yeah, let us know where you're tuning in from. I know it's a bit of a late. I've got two guys tuning in from LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube tonight. So I'd love
Beautiful.
to hear from where you're tuning in from. Ahmad is a good friend, an old friend. We've shared the stage at a couple of events together. Unleash the power of LinkedIn content creation back when we could travel. And Ahmed was killing it back then. He was the most followed person in real estate on LinkedIn at the time. I was just saying before we got on, every time I check your LinkedIn profile, it's grown by a couple 100,000 followers. Now over 1 million followers. I see you mentioned in a couple of lists as top influencers to follow, and you've branched out. You're now working alongside Success Resources, part of what you do with Tony Robbins, Richard Branson, all the top guys that come out to Australia. And so it's great to first of all be able to catch up, but also looking forward to see what you've been up to and learn some of the secrets, I guess, some of your secrets to growing your audience on LinkedIn and a bit of that as well. So welcome, Ahmed. Great to have you here.
Thank you, mate. I appreciate the invite. And look, I could not be more of an advocate for LinkedIn. So, I mean, the things I've been able to achieve and the opportunities I've been able to create through LinkedIn have been incredible. So when I talk about the use of LinkedIn and content creation and everything else, it's coming from a very real place. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, sorry. What was on there? Just trying to get you a bit closer up. Yeah, cool. Okay, so for those of those guys tuning in, because I went out on a Friday after work drinks a couple of Fridays ago, and I got stopped by two people in the bar I went to who said they tune into Monday Night Live, but they don't comment. So I know these guys are out there. So if you are listening, jump in the comments and say hello. But for those guys that might not know your background, do you mind giving us a bit of background about your journey as a business person and how you got involved with LinkedIn? Take us back to the start.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, I've been in sales for most of my life. So, I mean, I've been in sales for about 15 years, everything from starting off in a call center to door-to-door sales through to sales management, sales leadership, and that was pretty much my thing. I ended up in real estate. I was the director of a property consultancy in Sydney. And at the time, that's when I started LinkedIn to try and put myself out there a little bit more and find some potential clients, connect with an audience, and really just experiment. And so I put out a few videos. I had no idea what I was doing. I wasn't a video professional. I mean, I was someone I was comfortable speaking, but when you speak to a camera, it's a very different skill set, as you know. There's nothing natural about that. So I started off just experimenting with video, and once I put out my first video and received the response, it just changed everything. LinkedIn is very forgiving. LinkedIn doesn't care what you look like, what you sound like, as long as you've got a solid message and that message adds value in some capacity, people appreciate it.
Yeah.
And so I started to get a little bit more creative with my content. I've done crazy things. I was going to say stupid things. I've done crazy things like put out rap videos.
Yeah, MC Ahmad. Yep.
That's right. I've collaborated on rap videos and music videos with people internationally on LinkedIn. I've collaborated with some celebrities. But I mean, all in all, I've just experimented and I haven't been afraid to take some risks. And it's really paid off. And where that's ended up is me understanding that people don't just want to connect with professionals, they want to connect with humans. All right. And so me being very vulnerable, peeling back a few layers, and what you're seeing of me on LinkedIn is just me. It's the real me. And the good, the bad, the ugly, you're going to get it all. And I have found a community of people that have believed the same things that I believed. So I'm no different from anybody else. I'm just someone that has started creating video, learned from the very beginning. I was very nervous and overwhelmed when I put out my first video, and it took me about an hour to record my first video, which was 47 seconds.
Yeah. So
So
just want to ask you quickly, was LinkedIn the first platform you posted videos on?
I experimented with Facebook initially, but I mean, Facebook, I deleted a while ago just because I found it was mostly just me engaging with family. So this is the first platform I've created content for professionally.
Yeah, okay. And was this around the time that video was first coming out? Because it hasn't been on the platform too long. Yeah.
Yeah, so video's been out now for what, 3 years? That's more or less when I started. And when I started, there were some, let's call them OGs, that were putting out video content already. And so I was learning from a lot of the people that I saw on a feed and decided to put out my own style.
Cool. And how did, like, tell me, I'd like to hear, without me making any assumptions, what have been the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome as a content creator. But I'm assuming, I feel like I'm going to put words in your mouth, but one of the big things that people challenge that people have is just putting themselves out there. And you talked about authenticity. Was that something that you had to cultivate, or did it come naturally to you? And what did you find were the biggest challenges as a content creator?
It didn't come naturally at all. And look, I think we've all been conditioned because of the fact, we've got a work persona, we've got a professional persona. It's how we show up to work every single day. And I was bringing that into my content just because I thought that was the natural thing to do. You're on LinkedIn, it's a professional platform. And so a lot of my content initially was real estate tips, was updates on the property market, and just keeping it at that, until I actually put out a video which changed everything. And I can't remember why I put out this video. I just felt compelled to talk about it. But it was a video where I spoke about being discriminated against. I used the word bias. I spoke about the recruitment situation that I was in about 6 months prior to that, where I applied for a number of different jobs. I applied for 30 positions with recruiters. I got rejected from every single one. And then I had a conversation with my mates and decided to conduct a bit of an experiment. And in that experiment, I changed my name on the top of my resume from Ahmad Imam to Adam Smith, and then sent out the resume to the exact same 30 recruiters. And what happened just surprised me. And what happened was the next day I received 4 callbacks from recruiters that previously rejected me. So I actually told that story on LinkedIn through video. And this is probably about a couple of months of me starting LinkedIn. And that video went viral. I mean, so viral that it's to this day still probably my most viral video. And I've now got more than 1 million followers. And so that to me told me something. That to me told me that in that video, with that piece of content, I connected with people in a different way. It wasn't professionally. There was a professional component to the way I was delivering the message, but I connected with people as a human being. And what I found was everything from recruiters to job seekers to people going through interviews to just people of all different walks and shapes, really resonating with that message. And I feel that was almost my breakthrough piece of content, not just in terms of putting me on a map, but me realizing what people actually really connect with on LinkedIn. And so that's where I built up the confidence to then start branching out and doing some things that are a little bit different to what others are doing.
Wow. Jeez, because I remember, I was following your content very closely. I still do, but I haven't seen that video. That's awesome. It's incredible because I can totally relate to it. I remember being very vulnerable in. It wasn't on purpose. I was doing some content. One of the first times I filmed content, and I shared this story about how I started my business, and I always felt like I had to overcompensate. And I shared how I was actually broke, and I was getting evicted, and all this stuff. And it sort of went into this 20-minute vulnerable rant. And you watch it, and I'm kind of, my my hands are all over the place. I'm like, look very nervous, and I reluctantly posted it, and Like I wouldn't say it went viral, but it's the video that people remember me by, and I learned a
Yeah.
lot from that experience as well,
Yeah.
just by being vulnerable. And then the more you tell a story, the easier it is to tell it. But that first video, it still it gets the best response because you can just see the raw authenticity, and so I can relate a lot to what you're saying. That's
It's
an
the power of
awesome story.
it's the power of storytelling. I mean, people will always love it, um, and it's something they'll connect with on a completely different level. And there aren't many people doing it on the platform. So I mean, when you can put yourself out there confidently, and you don't talk about success, you talk about the climb to success, whatever that looks like for you. That's what people are interested in hearing because they want to replicate that model. They want to replicate how you did it. And when you're being raw and authentic in your stories, so that people can actually connect with you, um, you resonate with the audience on a completely different level.
Yeah, yeah, and one of the things that from my perspective, like this is just my opinion, I guess, but from my perspective, one of the things that you're uniquely good at is paying attention to what your audience is saying and how they're responding to content, and I can
Yeah.
tell that you shape your content around the community insights, I guess, that you're getting from the audience.
Yeah.
So well done on that. Like you said, about being vulnerable. It's something that you don't see very often. And I train a lot of content creators, and like they might get only 2 comments, but they don't respond to those comments, and you think, dude,
That's a start. Come on, man.
yeah, yeah. So well done. And so on that, like, what have you learned from your audience since you've started posting content about the sort of things that topics that you talk about these days?
I'm always big on, just like you mentioned, responding to comments. Not just to give back to the people that took the time to comment on my post, but the things that you actually learn. So I mean, I'm constantly reviewing comments for what my next content piece would be, or what the sentiment is right now about particular situations. Like, what are people thinking about COVID? What is it? What is it that they actually need more of right now? Is it education? Is it inspiration? Is it motivation? Those kind of things I'll always be tapping into.
Yeah,
And also the fact that really all we need to be doing is answering their questions,
yeah,
understanding where they're at right now in terms of timing and in terms of their mindset, and then joining that conversation in their head. And that's what it's all about. And I tell my clients that it's actually less about the content and more around the timing of the content, right? Like, if you can actually tap into something that's happening right now. For example, if someone has certain stresses or pressures or pain points right now, and you're able to actually tap into that with the right timing, that's how a post goes well. So I mean, for me, it's more about timing than the quantity. The quality of the post itself, as in the content.
yeah. I'm curious. Like, so in the start of last year, was it before then, perhaps? But when we first started to find out about the coronavirus, you know, um, how did you immediately start talking about on LinkedIn? What was your and how did you decide what to talk about at the start? Because at the start it was like we were all very confused, like
Yeah,
what to do,
yeah.
and rightfully so, and so obviously the audience was confused as well. I'm interested to find out how you responded with your content when you initially found out about what was going on in the world.
Yeah, I observed what was happening with everyone else, and I think any business or individual that was being a little tone deaf to what was happening, as in COVID was clearly happening. It was impacting everyone, and anyone that was just putting out the same old content without addressing COVID was being completely tone deaf with their audience, and that was becoming very transparent. And so I started to just address it head on, and I realized the best way to approach it was at the time just to give people some inspiration and some practical things that they can do right now, given the uncertainty and given what's happening. And that's actually what started Level Up TV. So, I mean, myself and Michael Lane started putting out Level Up TV every single week, which is a LinkedIn live show we still do, just to help people level up in business, life, and influence. And a lot of it in the beginning was centered around, what should we be thinking right now? How should we be getting over this? as a business, what are the next 3 things that we should be focusing on to help us get past this current situation? So it actually birthed from there, and it birthed from the uncertainty that we were seeing from people in the comments, the feedback we were receiving. And so it's always a matter of adjusting and adapting to what you're currently seeing people going through at the time.
Yeah, yeah, and I also one of the things I've noticed as well that you do very well is the inspirational content, because that's huge on LinkedIn. A lot of people miss that, and they're all about the education, information. Inspiration does really well, and you've really locked into that. But also entertainment, right? Because like people are at work looking through LinkedIn and it can be a little bit boring sometimes, but then you come across one of your rap videos or one of your little comedy skits, and it lights up their day. So well done on that.
I truly think there's no better way to educate people than doing it in an entertaining way. If you're able to combine education and entertainment, which I call edutainment, you really hit the nail on the head. And people have short attention spans. So, if you're able to communicate it as effectively as possible in an entertaining way, it really hits home.
Yeah. And so for those guys that are tuning in, that have sort of dipped their toe in the water when it comes to LinkedIn content, I've got a lot of people in my audience that are quite active on, say, Instagram, for example, tried a few things on LinkedIn, but haven't quite committed to it yet. What are some of the opportunities that have come your way since you've been so active on the platform?
Yeah, look, I'm going to sound dramatic in saying this, but my life has completely shifted since being on LinkedIn. Okay, so I've gone from being someone that was obviously chasing jobs and chasing recruiters and chasing positions to someone that's now getting approached every single day to be on podcasts, to be on interviews, to have partnerships, to have joint ventures, collaborations. It's completely shifted the dynamic. In addition to that, it's allowed me to then focus on positions and passions that I'm truly aligned with. So, property was great, and property, helped support me financially for a long time. I wasn't exactly incredibly passionate about it. And so now I've been able to step into personal development, which I love. I've been able to focus on consulting and becoming an entrepreneur, which I love to do. I've been able to align myself with a lot of non-for-profits like Bully Zero, an anti-bullying charity, organizations based on social impact, organizations based on kindness and corporate kindness. All of the things that I actually love to talk about, I'm now actually involved in. And that's all been as a result of LinkedIn. And on top of that, I am now very blessed that I don't have to do any outreach in terms of lead generation. I now have people approach me and ask if we can have a discovery call, and that's a beautiful thing. So all the clients I'm currently receiving now is really as a result of the content and the brand that I've spent the last 2 years building. So the opportunities are vast, and like I said, I can't be more of an advocate for LinkedIn.
And that's awesome, man. First, well done. That's fantastic, and I can totally see it. It's phenomenal. The brand you've been able to build, being able to get those inbound leads. As everybody listening who's been in sales would know, an inbound lead is such a nicer conversation to have than when you do an outreach. So there's posting content, obviously, creating content, growing an audience. Can you talk to us a little bit about how what are some of the best ways to then turn that attention into inquiries or turn it into opportunities for business?
Yeah, so the best way is to answer the questions that your audience are asking. And there's many ways you can do that. One, you can you can focus on what the audience is actually talking about via your comments, via their pieces of content, or what the general sentiment in the market is. And there are also many tools out there that can help you with creating content and understanding what questions to actually answer. So, there's a great tool that I use called Answer the Public. Answerthepublic.com. It's literally a search engine, more or less, that's connected to Google. You can just type in a keyword, So let's say, for example, you're an accountant. You can type in the word accountant or accounting, and it'll come up with hundreds of questions that people are typing into Google that have the word accountant in it. You can literally take any one of those questions and make that a piece of content and go about in that piece of content answering that question. And that is targeted. If you keep doing that and you keep speaking to people and joining those conversations in their head and answering and talking to those pain points, they're going to reach out to you. Just keep in mind that it doesn't happen straight away.
Yeah.
Previously, it used to take us 6 touch points before someone actually reached out to us and was willing to do business with us. Now it is 26 touch points. Okay, so that's why consistency is so important in terms of creating content and being very, 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 very familiar with not only your niche, but also your target audience and what they're going through. That's why I say timing is important. So you need to actually reach out to them and they need to see you and feel you and experience you 26 times before they may actually send you a message and say, you know what, can we jump on a call? This sounds like it might be something you can help me with.
And so on that, it sounds like what you're saying is it's not about putting necessarily a call to action in your content. People will reach out if you produce the right content. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the way I've treated it is my profile has been the funnel, more or less. Obviously, the content gets them onto the profile, but the profile will have exactly how they can reach out to me, how they can connect with me. Obviously, they can send me a message. There's contact details there. My content is really just there to try and get them onto my profile, right? So to create as much interest, to make it as compelling as possible, as targeted as possible. So they go, who is this guy? And they go onto my profile, they figure out how to get in contact with me, and that's how it happens.
Yeah, phenomenal. And I imagine that what you've experienced since starting out is it kind of eliminates competition, doesn't it? When you've got that influence and they're coming to you and you've got this profile converting, like you don't really have that. What happened? We disappeared for a second.
Yeah, sorry, you were cutting out there. I don't know if that was you or that was me.
Okay, I'll keep going. Ahmad's paused. Hang on. Let's have a look.
Can you hear me okay? Can you hear me all right?
Connect. Yeah, I can.
Hello?
Yeah, we're all good.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Okay. Well, I can hear you. Okay.
Good.
Yeah, I can hear you fine. That's strange.
Am I still paused on your screen?
Yep.
Okay.
We're back. I think
All
we're
right,
back.
good. Okay. I can hear you fine, so I mean, I'm happy to answer. Hello, you there?
Yeah, sure. I lost my place now. This is the way with LinkedIn live video in general, isn't it? Yeah, I'm here.
Sorry about that.
Sounds fine. we got
Okay.
audio.
Okay, good. It says,
Okay,
nah, you're
just
both
give me 1
pixelated.
second.
Okay. Well, it looks like it's come back. I can see you now.
There you are.
Okay, good. It's, the benefits of doing it live. The show must go on, right?
Okay, good. I think we're getting there. All right. So, yeah, that's right. And I've seen you've started to get active on other platforms as well. So has that been part of the strategy as well to start growing audiences on other channels?
Yeah, so I want to replicate what I've done on LinkedIn. And I understand the different models that other influencers have spoken to, as in, you really have to expand your reach and you have to be active on many different platforms. But for me, I wanted to dominate one platform first. And for me, that was LinkedIn, and then place that focus on other platforms. All right. So now I'm placing a lot of focus on Instagram, and I'm soon to be placing focus on TikTok because they're both very, very important markets.
Yeah.
So is there a delay when
yet?
Yeah, so I've just recently joined TikTok and tried to leverage.
I think it's
Maybe I should try leaving and coming back. Would that help?
Yeah. Yep. Go for it.
Okay. All right. Let me try that. 1 second.
Okay. Well, Ahmad's going to come back, guys. So drop your questions in the comments and let us know what your questions are for Ahmed, because we've got him for another 15 minutes, guys. So let's make the most of the time. Ask him any questions you want about entrepreneurship, content marketing, what have you. Marshall's joined the live. There he is. Oh, hey, Marshy. How are you?
All right. All right. You can hear me okay? You can see me okay?
Yeah, we've got another guest on now. See Marshall?
Feel free to answer. I'll ask the questions to her. That's fine.
Were you playing with the modem, Marshall? Were you playing with the modem? Marshall's very popular on LinkedIn. Some people will be happy to see him. Yeah, I was just saying to the audience, drop your questions in. While we've got you, about content marketing, business in general, what have you. So what are the projects that you're most excited about at the moment that you're working on?
There's a few I actually can't talk about, but there's
cool.
There's some there'll be some announcements very, very soon. It's going to be really cool.
You're going to give us a clue?
No, I can't actually. It's all pretty hush hush. But
Cool.
I'm loving working with my clients right now, just doing a bit of consulting, helping other people become influencers on LinkedIn, at least influencers in their field, helping other people become comfortable with creating content and really starting to make an impact. So that's taking up a lot of my time in lockdown, and there's been some incredible results. So yeah, that's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, brilliant. And how are you? What are your opportunities are you seeing on LinkedIn at the moment? How are you finding all of the product changes and product feature updates that have been going on?
I'm seeing engagement change and shift almost quarterly, and it's on a decrease. So I mean, we had, and you and I were talking about this previously, that we had a huge opportunity with organic growth over the last couple of years, and we still do. It's only the fact that we've been spoiled with the level of engagement that we've received for free organically. There is still massive opportunity, but what I'm seeing is LinkedIn is turning into a bit of a content creation platform. And where there's a lot of content creation, there's also going to be influencers. And where there's influencers, there's going to be opportunities for sponsorships and ambassadorships and people generating revenue in many, many different ways that you might see on other platforms right now, like YouTube and Instagram. And we're just starting to see the beginning of that on LinkedIn. And so with my following, I've been able to reach out to sponsorships and become an ambassador for a number of different organizations. And some of them are paid, some of them are not paid. But we're going to start seeing a lot more of that, because reach is reach. If you're reaching 10,000 people on LinkedIn and it can be targeted, of course, there's going to be people that are going to be interested in paying for that reach. So we're going to start seeing a lot more influencer marketing on LinkedIn, and people reaching out to key individuals within specific industries to either promote their services and products or to align themselves with them to get their message out there. So, I mean, that's going to be very, very exciting, because it'll mean a massive shift for what LinkedIn is and how it started.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I had Taryn Williams, who's the founder of The Right Fit, on Monday Night Live a couple of weeks ago, and we're doing some LinkedIn advertising for her influencer marketing agency now. So, I'm definitely seeing that start to happen. People are looking for influencers on LinkedIn for reach and also just for the content itself. It's a very different platform to other sites. Because I always thought to myself, it's crazy that these extremely talented guys on YouTube, and YouTube is a big one, haven't come over to LinkedIn and started using it. But if you think about it, like you said, it is a very different platform, and it's not actually the same content doesn't work as well. It's actually the more raw and authentic stuff that you were talking about before that does really well. People don't seem to care too much how well it's produced. It's the storytelling, it's the relatable stuff. A lot of it you can do with your mobile phone if you know what you're doing. Yeah,
and look, I think it's going to evolve. I mean, we've seen YouTube evolve over the years. I think there's a period right now where people are hungry for creative content and real life stories. And in 6 to 12 months' time, we might see that shift into something else. There's a number of people doing shows on LinkedIn. Like, I mean, I do a weekly show that's pretty much like a TV show. Like, there's different segments, there's games, there's audience interaction, the whole lot. And there's a number of people that are doing something similar to that. So we're definitely seeing it shift and adapt, and it's happening almost daily. But anyone that hasn't yet started on LinkedIn or isn't yet active or isn't yet putting out content, believe me, it's not too late. This is a perfect time to jump in. So there's so much blue ocean out there for everyone, regardless of what industry you're in, or regardless of what niche you're in, to actually make an impact and to fill a lot of gaps that are missing.
What are the biggest mistakes that marketers are making on LinkedIn, do you think?
I think going head first with their business brand as opposed to their personal brand. And look, that's been a massive shift that we've all seen. Gone are the days where you lead with your business brand, and then as a result, people get to know you as a person. You have to actually lead as a person, as a human being, as a personal brand. And then if they're interested in you, if they like you, they'll then find out what you do as a business. And that's a fundamental shift that's happened. And it's something that everyone has to be, they have to be proactive with. So, I mean, right now, that means instead of investing more so on your business, you'd invest more so on your personal brand and you creating content as a personal brand. Obviously, you can share your expertise and you can share your knowledge, but when people then approach you is when you can then talk to them about your business. And so that's where I'm seeing a lot of people make mistakes. They're actually leading with their business. They're talking about how they can assist you as a business, when really people want to connect with you as a person and understand if they like you, if you have similar values, and if so, they're willing to work with you, especially the younger audience.
Yeah, okay, yeah. And do you think that's more of an education problem or a confidence on camera problem?
Both.
Yeah.
It's a hell of a thing to start creating content when you haven't done it previously. To anyone watching, you don't have to start with video content. Like, video content is the most difficult content to create out of all contents. We talk about being yourself on camera, but it's also very difficult to do that because there's nothing natural about standing in front of a camera and speaking to it when there's no one around, and that's a completely different skill set to being on stage. But I mean, to get started, you can put out a text post, you can put out a carousel post. If you've done a speaking arrangement, you can repurpose that. And you and I were talking about this earlier, Nathan. You can repurpose anything these days. You can repurpose a website blog into many different pieces of content. You can purpose a speaking presentation into quote images, into audiograms. The potential is limitless. You don't have to necessarily start on video. But I will say this. Pieces of content like carousel posts and text posts and image posts are great for building a following and are great for building visibility, because right now on LinkedIn, they tend to get the most engagement. But video, there's nothing that compares to video in terms of actually building on your personal brand. Getting people to know you, like you, and trust you in a really, really quick way is done through video. So it's important to have a combination of all those forms of content. But I'll say lean on your strengths. If your strengths is in writing, then write. Write text posts, write articles. And if you can add value in that way, then by all means do it. If you suck at writing, then figure out other pieces of content that might be more suitable. But just lean on your strengths initially.
And how often should people be posting, do you think?
Look, my methodology is this, and it's slightly shifted and changed recently. But if LinkedIn posts tend to die after about 1 or 2 days, and they kind of disappear into this black hole, and you don't see them again, then that would suggest to me that in order to remain in a feed, which should be the goal, that you should post content at least once every 1 to 2 days. So that means, let's say, at a minimum 3 to 4 times per week. And if you want to lift up your game, you might do it 5, 6, 7 times a week, up to maybe once per day. I'm not actually a believer in posting multiple times per day, because what I see that does is people then posting for the sake of posting. They're like, oh God, it's about time. I got to do my second post. and you notice that it doesn't have quality, there's no value add there, I would highly recommend just focusing on a quality value add post, either educational, inspirational, or uplifting in some capacity. So yeah, look, I would say 3 to 4 times per week. If you want to lift up your game, maybe once per day, but the focus is on quality, not quantity.
Yeah. Alvin's jumped in here and asked about creating content on your personal profile first or your business. We've kind of addressed this, but personal profile,
I would 100% say your personal profile, and let that then leverage into your business. Okay. Because you want to get people to know you as a person first, and then through that, understand what it is you do.
Yeah. Got a quick shout out to PJ.
PJ.
My man.
Good to see you, PJ.
Amber's in the house. Yeah.
Amber,
great value add, Amber.
Start where you are comfortable. I also say if you have other staff in your business, try to see where each staff strengths are. Yeah, some love writing, some won't mind video. Yeah, spot on.
And what about planning? Do you plan all of your content? Or is there a balance between some content that you post that you post that you think of on the day, or you just leave a bit of space to be flexible? How much planning is involved in what you're posting month to month?
Yeah, look, there's quite a bit of planning, and I'll give you a bit of insight into how my content strategy works. I have a number of different topics that I like to talk to. And it's different topics based on the businesses I'm in, based on the partnerships that I have. So I might be talking about either personal development or social media or speaking or presenting or confidence or kindness, whatever that might be. And it's premeditated. If you go to my profile, you'll see why I'm talking about those things. So I will have, let's call it foundational content, where I actually have my team. I run an agency where we create content for people. So they will actually create content for me based on those topics. And so every single week, they might create maybe 4 different pieces of content based on those topics. And that'll be provided to me like 2 weeks in advance. But in order to remain flexible and in touch with my audience, I'll also put out pieces of content on that particular week that are relative to what everyone is feeling and what people are going through at that time. All right. So I would say 60 or 70% of my content is created for me already. And you might even call it filler content. It's content almost to fill the gaps in between my marquee pieces of content, the content that I really want to put out, like the videos where I'm really expressing myself, or a post where I'm being super vulnerable. That's usually how I manage my LinkedIn. So it's a combination of having a content strategy that is 2 weeks in advance with my pillar content and topics I like to talk about, and also putting out pieces that are going to be a combination of controversial, compelling, vulnerable, and get high visibility.
Yeah, it's interesting because at the start you put out all this content, you're trying to work out what works, and then you get an idea, and then it becomes about how do I manage all this, and that becomes the problem. And obviously you're creating a huge amount of content, you've got a huge amount of engagement, you've got a huge following, and so I can see how these new challenges would raise their heads, and you've done phenomenally well, Ahmad. I know it's late there, and you've probably been stuck on camera meetings all day, being in Sydney.
I have. Yeah.
So, mate, we'll let you go, but please let the audience know where they can get in touch with you. I'm asking a very obvious question here, but go follow Ahmad Imam on LinkedIn. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Yeah, I mean, you can reach me on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, now TikTok. It's all at the same handle, and that's at the Ahmad Imam. So send me a message. I'd love to speak to you. I'd love to say hello. I'd love to meet you. So don't hesitate to reach out.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for your time, brother. I really appreciate it, and hope to do this again sometime soon.
For sure, anytime. Thank you, brother. All the best.
No worries. Cheers.